Okay, today we're going to be doing polynomial long division. Okay, so we're going to take the polynomial x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6, and we're going to divide it by x plus 1. So we're going to set it up in a long division, and you probably recognize this from elementary school. And we're going to take x plus 1, and we're going to divide that into x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6. So the first thing we do is we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get an x cubed? That would be x squared. Now we don't put it in the first column because that's the x cubed column. We put it in the second column of x squared, which is another x squared. X squared times x gives me x cubed, and then x squared times positive 1 gives me positive x squared. Okay, now we're going to subtract. So instead of saying subtracting, we'll just call it changing the signs and adding. It's an easier way to remember it. So we notice that the x cubes are going to cancel out, and then we have negative 4x squared minus x squared, which gives us a negative 5x squared. We bring down our x, and then we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get negative 5x squared? And then that would be negative 5x. Negative 5x times x is negative 5x squared. And negative 5x times 1 is negative 5x. Once again, we're going to change our signs and add. The negative 5x and the 5x squared cancel out. And then we have positive x plus 5x, which gives us 6x, and then we bring down our 6. Finally, we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get positive 6x? And that would be positive 6. Positive 6 times 6 gives us 6x. Positive 6 times 1 gives us positive 6. And then we're going to change our signs and add. In this case, both the positive 6x, negative 6x cancel, and then 6 and negative 6 also cancel, giving us a remainder of 0. This then provides us with our first factor of x plus 1, and then we're able to factor x squared minus 5x plus 6 using our methods of factoring quadratics, and we get two other factors of x minus 3 times x minus 2. These are our factors of the higher order polynomial x cubed minus 4x squared plus x plus 6. Remember, factors are in parentheses, so these are the factors, not to be confused with the zeros, which means when we pull the values out of the parentheses, we're going to get x equals negative 1, x equals 2, and x equals 3. These are our zeros. The ones in red over here on the left are our factors. Now here's another example. And we're going to go ahead and start with our long division. So we're going to take x minus 2, and we're going to divide it into the polynomial 3x to the 4th minus 2x to the 3rd. But at this point, we notice that we're missing a x squared. So we have to put a placeholder in of 0 for the x squared value. And then we get minus 4x plus 6. Notice we went from x to the 4th to the x to the 3rd, x squared, and then x to the 1st. We need to have that placeholder of 0 in order to do the long division properly. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. Give me 1 second. Ran out of room there. So we're going to ask ourselves, what do we multiply the x by to get 3x to the 4th, and that would be 3x to the 3rd, giving us 3x to the 4th, and then 3x to the 3rd times negative 2 gives us negative 6x cubed. We're going to change our signs and add. Therefore, the 3x to the 4's cancel. So these will cancel out. And then negative 2x plus 6x cubed is going to give us positive 4x cubed. And then we bring down our 0x squared. Because we need two terms, since we have two terms with x minus 2. We ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get 4x cubed? And that would be positive 4x squared. 4x squared times x gives me 4x cubed. And then 4x squared times negative 2 gives me negative 8x squared. We change our signs and add. The 4x cubes cancel out and giving us 8x squared, because 0x squared plus 8x squared is 8x squared. We bring down our negative 4x. And then we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get 8x squared? And that would be positive 8x. 8x times x gives me 8x squared. 8x times negative 2 gives me negative 16x. We change our signs and add. Our x squares, 8x squares cancel. And then we get 12x. Negative 4x plus 16x is positive 12x. Bring down our 6. And then we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x by to get 12x? And that would be positive 12. Multiplying positive 12 times x, we get 12x. Multiplying by 12 by negative 2, we get negative 24. We change our signs and add. The 12x's cancel. And positive 6 plus 24 is positive 30. That's our remainder. So when we get a remainder, we take the remainder and we place it over the polynomial or binomial, in this case, that we are dividing by, x minus 2. Okay, here's a large one. We're taking a trinomial, and we're going to multiply it into this higher order polynomial. So we have three terms here, so we're going to have to go into three terms. So we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x squared by to get x to the 5th? And that would be x to the cubed. Notice I skipped 2 spaces so I could put my x cubed in the x cubed column. X cubed times x squared is x to the 5th. Then x cubed times negative 2x is negative 2x to the 4th. And then x cubed times 1 is positive x cubed. We're going to change our signs and add. The x to the 5th would cancel. The 2x to the 4th cancel. And then we get positive 4x to the 3rd minus x to the 3rd, which gives us 3x to the 3rd. Now we have three terms that we're dividing by, so we have to have three terms to divide into. So we bring down not only the negative 8x squared, but also positive 7x. Then we ask ourselves, what do we multiply x squared by to get 3x cubed? That would be positive 3x. Notice I did not put the 3x over the x squared column because we have no x squares. But we do have positive 3x times x squared, which would give us the 3x cubed. And then 3x times negative 2x gives us negative 6x squared. And then positive 3x times 1 gives me positive 3x. We're going to change all of our signs and add. So the 3x cubes cancel. And then we have negative 2x squared because negative 8x squared plus 6x squared gives us negative 2x squared. And then 7x and a negative 3x gives me positive 4x. And then we bring down our final value of negative 5. We go through the whole procedure again. We ask ourselves, what do we multiply x squared by to get negative 2x squared? And that would be negative 2. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2x is positive 4x. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. We change our signs and add. The 2x squares cancel, the 4x's cancel, and we're left with a remainder of negative 3. I'm going to try to squeeze this in, but we put negative 3 over x squared minus 2x plus 1. So we get a depressed polynomial of x cubed plus 3x minus 2 minus 3 over x squared minus 2x plus 1. Now we use this a lot in calculus, but you'll probably practice it again when you get to advanced math. Just take your time and go slow, and it is easy to make mistakes, so be sure to watch your signs, but I know every one of you can do this.